Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hack on the Hill 12. My name is Sebastian, and this is my workshop on React Native. Here are the links to both the slides if you want to follow along, as well as the README, where you can find the code of any demo I do in this workshop. So, this is the agenda for today. I'll start by giving a brief introduction to React Native. Um, I'll then show you how to set up your coding environment, as well as components, style sheets, custom components and props, as well as screen changes. And throughout this workshop, I'll be working on a demo where I'll be building a very simple app showcasing how to use all of these features. So, first of all, what is React Native? React Native is a JavaScript framework for building native mobile apps. And you might ask, what are native mobile apps? Native mobile apps are apps that are directly installed on your mobile device, as opposed to, for example, a web application you run in your browser. And previously, you would have to use a platform-specific language to build a native mobile app. So for iOS, that would be Swift or Objective-C. Well, for Android, that would have been Java or Kotlin, which leads me on to the advantages of React Native. So the main appeal of React Native is that it's cross-platform. This basically means that you write your code once in one code base, and you're then able to run it basically anywhere. So the app will look the same on both your iOS device and Android device. React Native also has very strong community support. Um, I've put a link here on the slide. But the appeal of that is there are lots of third-party libraries available, as well as solutions to errors and tips and tricks in general. React Native is also maintained by Meta. And just to show you that React Native is legit, here are some of the apps that use React Native. I mean, some of these are instantly recognizable, like Amazon, Instagram, Discord, Tesla, Coinbase, and Xbox. I use some of these myself, and they're all highly functioning, responsive apps with great user interfaces. So next up is setting up our environment. So you're gonna have to install a few things before you can set up your environment. So first of all, you're gonna be needing a text editor for your code. And in this workshop, we're gonna be using Visual Studio Code. You'll also have to install Node.js, which is a runtime environment that lets us execute JavaScript code outside of the browser. And also, if you don't have a simulator installed on your computer, I would encourage you to download Expo Go on your mobile device, so that can function as a simulator instead. So, to set up our environment, you should start by making a folder for your project. You should then open a new terminal in VS Code and run the following commands. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So, as you can see, I've made a new demo folder here. So let's just open a new terminal and run the commands you saw on the slide. So npx create expo app at latest dash dash template blank, and then the name of our app. Let's just call it my. So this is going to take a few seconds. Just let it do its thing. Yeah, you might see a few warnings, but don't worry at all. It's all good. So as you can see here, we now have a new folder for our project. So let's just change directory into this folder, cd my app. And finally, to actually start our project, you should run the command npx expo start. So here you'll see a couple different options to simulate our app. If you downloaded the Expo Go app on your phone, you should scan this QR code. But if you already have a simulator installed on your computer, as I do, that's just press I. So as you can see here, we now have iPhone 16 simulator. So let's just organize this nicely here. Yes. So as you can see here, it says open up app.js to start working on your app. You can find that file here, which is the main file we're going to be working with today. So here you can see the matching text. So just to see how this would work, let's just change this to this is the best ever and save. Now you can see that the text on the simulator changed as well. So that's basically it for setting up our environment. The next thing on our agenda is components. So before we go into the specific core components, I'm just going to give a brief introduction to JSX, which is the programming language we're going to be using in React Native. So JSX is a combination of JavaScript, which is a programming language you might be familiar with, and XML, which is a markup language very similar to HTML. Uh, JSX or JavaScript XML is basically the love child of these two languages, hence the image on the right here. And it lets us store markup language in variables and directly write it into JavaScript. So having said that, let's go over some of the core components offered in JSX. So first of all, we have views, which are containers that lets us change the layout of our screen, basically. They're very similar to divs in normal React. We also have text, images, and buttons, just to name a few. Of course, there are many more. On the right here, you can see an example where we have views to organize different sections of our code. You can see that we have one large view here for the whole thing, as well as one view for the image, and then one view for the text and the button here. Inside of these views, we use the specific components for images, text, and buttons. Don't worry too much. I'm gonna give a quick demo on how we would use this. So going back to our project, let's just delete this, start from a clean slate. So in this for this simple app, I'm gonna make an app that shows the different cities in California with a little info underneath. So let's just start by adding some text with the headline cities in California. Okay, now we have that. Let's say we want to include San Francisco and Los Angeles. So let's add a view for each first. This view is going to be for San Francisco, and then another view down here.
for Los Angeles. So we should probably start with spelling out the name of the cities. So let's just type in here San Francisco and one down here for uh, Los Angeles. Okay, you see there, now that I saved, they're both appearing on the simulator. Now let's say we want to add some info of each city. Let's say we want the location, which for San Francisco would be Northern California, and for Los Angeles, that would be Southern California. Okay, let's just add another fact. Let's say population, for example, which should be 800,000 for San Francisco and and 3.8 million for Los Angeles. Okay, so as you can see now, we have some facts about each city. Uh, let's say we also want to add an image for each city. The way we would do that is by making an image component, which looks slightly different than the text. It's not a sandwich in the same way. We need a slash here, like this. Um, and in here, to add images in React Native, we need to style them. So don't worry too much about that right now. I'm just gonna put in some basic dimensions here, and I'll go into more detail in the next part of the workshop. But let's just say we want the width here of 200 and the height of 200. We also need to add a source for our image. Um, for this workshop, I'm just going to use some URLs. So the way you do that is to write in here URI colon in quotes. And now we can go online and find uh, a nice picture of San Francisco. San Francisco. Let's see. This looks nice. Let's just take this one. Copy the image address. Go back here and just paste it in and save. Now, as you can see, we have a picture of San Francisco. Let's do the same for Los Angeles. Uh, I said we need some basic styling here. Just do the same dimensions. Oops. 200, as well as a source. Okay, let's find a nice picture of LA. Hmm, this looks nice. Let's just copy it. And as I did for San Francisco, just paste it in here and save. Whoops. Let's see. Oh, oh, here. This is a problem. Okay, so now we have a headline, cities in California. We have San Francisco and Los Angeles with some facts beneath. Let's say at the end we want to add two buttons to vote on which city is the best. So let's create a new view and add two button components here. Okay. The way you format buttons is slightly different. So here you would add a title for each button. Let's say SF. Same down here, LA. And we should also add some text above. Maybe asking the question, which city is the best? Which city is the best? Okay, let's save. Okay, so as you can see here on the right now, you have two buttons that are pressable. They don't do anything for now, but they're there. We also have some facts about San Francisco and Los Angeles. So we have all the information we want, but as you can see, it's not very nicely formatted and organized. Which brings me on to the next part of this workshop, which are style sheets. So style sheets are used to style our components in React Native. And as you can see on the right here, it looks very similar to CSS. Also, you can have multiple styles in each style sheet. So in blue here, you can see how we declare a style sheet. While in yellow, you can see that we have multiple styles. And some of the most common properties we can use to customize our app are font size, background color, width, height, and margin. But there are many, many more, and there are endless opportunities to customize here. Also, these properties are used to customize everything from text to buttons and images and all other components. So there are many opportunities here. So I'm going to show some of it to you right now. So let's go back to our app. As you can see, there's already been declared a style sheet here. So let's just continue here. So in our app, we have two cities, and let's say we want hard layout for each city. So we can start by creating a hard style here. Let's just call it hard style. And start customizing. Let's say we want a border around each card. So the way we would do that would be to use the border width and increase that to, for example, 5. Let's say we also want a width of, for example, 350 and a height of 300. Okay, save. As you can see, nothing happened yet. That's because we need to use this style in our view component. So we go up here for our San Francisco view and type in style equals, and in curly brackets, we would add our style down here. First, we have to reference our style sheet, which is called styles. So we would type styles and then dot and then the specific name of our style, which in this case is card style. So styles.card style. And let's add the same for our Los Angeles view and save. As you can see now, we have two cards. It doesn't look nice just yet, but this is a starting point. let's say we want to add some margin between each of the cards. We can do that by uh, using the margin bottom property. Let's say we want 16 between. Okay, now we have some space. Let's say we also want background color uh, of uh, light gray. Oh, oh, we need quotes like that. So I can see that the background color is light gray. Maybe we also want some rounded corners. For that, we would use border radius. Let's put that to 62, for example. And now you can see that our corners are rounded. You can also see that our images haven't changed yet, and that the image corner doesn't match the card corner. This can be easily fixed. Let's go up here where we um, customize our pictures in the previous part of the workshop. Um, let's change this to styles. Then let's create a image style, for example. And let's put the same down here for Los Angeles. Then we have to create that style, of course. Image style. First of all, we want to match the corners with the card. So let's use the border radius. But we only want the top to be rounded. So let's use border top. Oh, oh, we need a colon here. Border top left radius. Let's put that to 660, for example. And same border top right radius to the same. We can also change the width here to be relative to the card itself. So let's just put the width to 100%, which has to be in quotes, 100%. And let's set the height to 50%, for example. Let's see how this looks. Okay, this looks better. Maybe even 55% for the height. Okay. I see that our text here is a little small. Same goes for the headline. Let's change the headline. Let's make a headline style. And let's use the font size property and increase that size to, let's say, 46. Maybe we also want some font weight. Let's put that to 700. And of course, we have to apply this style. So then we go into text here, style equals, and in curly brackets, styles dot headline style. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. Maybe we also want some margin beneath here. Margin bottom of, for example, 16. Yeah, that's better. Then we can go for the text in each card. Let's see. This has a, yeah. Let's add a separate style for that. For example, city info. Uh, let's set a font size of maybe 24. Um, and a font weight of 500. Okay. Maybe we also want our city names to be slightly bigger than the uh, facts underneath. So the way we can do that is to have a separate one for each. Let's say our style here should be uh, styles dot, what was it, city info, yeah. Same for this one. Let's see how that looks. Maybe a little big. Let's change it to 20 and this to 400. That's better. Let's do the same for San Francisco. And we want a bigger and heavier text for the city names. Let's add one for city name. Here we might want a font size. Oh, whoops. We want a font size of 26, for example, and a font weight of, let's say, 600. Let's see how that would look. Style equals is it city name? Yeah, that's decent. Let's put the same for San Francisco. I also see that the text is pretty close to the border here. To fix that, we could add some padding. Let's add some padding here of, let's say, 14. Oh, we want the padding on the left specifically. Padding left. Same for our city names. Same amount. That's better. I also think we might want some uh, padding at the top. Uh, padding top of, for example, 10. Yeah, that looks much better. Okay. Let's also customize our buttons down here.
To do that, we actually need separate view containers for each of our buttons. So let's just make those real quick. View, put the button inside. Same for our Los Angeles button. And let's just go down here and make a new style for our buttons. Let's just call it button style. Let's say we want the width of maybe 80 and the height of 40. Maybe a full background color as well. Let's say yellow, for example, and a border radius to match our cards of, for example, 60. Let's see. Now we can go back up here and add our button style to the view container. So as you remember, styles dot button style. Same for, oh, whoops. Same for our LA button and save. As you can see now, we have two buttons with some styling. Let's say we also want these buttons to be besides each other instead of on top of each other. To do that, we would have to modify the container for both of the buttons. Um, so let's just make a button container style. And the property you would use to change the layout of these buttons is called flex. So let's just say display flex and flex direction row. Okay, and let's apply this style in our view container here. Style, style, stop, button, container. Let's see. Here we go. So, as you can see, the buttons are now besides each other. Let's say we want some margin between the buttons on all sides. Say margin 10. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So, now we have two cards here. We have two buttons. They are press bolt. They still don't do anything, but at least it looks better. Let's also change the style for the question here. Um, let's just call it, for example, question style. And let's just increase the font size slightly to, for example, 30. And then let's apply it here. Style equals styles dot question style. Yeah, that's better. But as you can see, um, for the cards here, it gets quite repetitive if we would have to make a separate card for each city. There are hundreds of cities in California, not to mention the US and the world. So this wouldn't be scalable at all. Which leads me on to our next topic in this workshop, which is custom components and props.
So, as you already know, React Native provides us with some basic components like views, text, buttons, images, and many more. But you're also able to create your own custom components that are reusable. So take this thread of tweets on the right here, for instance. You can think of each individual tweet as a separate component, like this. So how would you go about making a custom component? Let's say we, for example, want to make a greeting component. You would then start by creating a separate file for your component. Let's just call it greeting.js in this instance. And in that file, you would make a function similarly to how you would do it in your app, main app file, and then write down whatever markup language you want. You would then go back to your main file, app.js, import that function as you can see on this line. And from then on, you're able to use your custom component in the same way as you would use any other core component. So I'll show you how to do that right now. So we're back in our app here. Let's say we want to make a custom component for our Los Angeles card. So as you remember, let's just start by making a separate file. Let's just call it card.js. First of all, we should import the same core components as we're using in our main app. So let's just do that first. Then let's create our main function. So export default function. Let's just call it card. And then return like that. Let's also make a style sheet real quick. So let's just call it styles sheet. Oh, whoops. Fonts, styles, style sheet dot create. Um, like that. Okay. We should now be ready to start designing our custom component. So if we want it to be exactly the same as our Los Angeles card, let's just copy in all of this, put it here. As you can see, we also need our styles. So we need card style, image style, city name, and city info. So let's just copy over those as well. Put it down here. Same with city name and city info. Like that. Okay, save. Looks fine for now. Let's go back into our main file app.js and import our new function, our new component, sorry. So import our function is just called card. So let's just call it card from, and then the file path. And since our card file is in the same folder as our app file, we can just use this card.js. Looks fine for now. Let's just remove our existing view here. Save. As you can see now, we just have our San Francisco card. Let's now try and use our new custom component. So card and save. And as you can see, we now have a Los Angeles card all in this little component. And so if we want to add more Los Angeles cards, we can, oh, we can just keep on using the same component many times, like this, save. There I have two Los Angeles cards. So as you can see, this is much more scalable than writing a separate view for every single card in our main function. But at the same time, with this approach, we would still need a separate file for each different city, which is not scalable, which is why we have something called props.
So props are what we use to customize our components. And it's basically just information that we give to each component. So going back to our previous greeting example, let's try and make this a bit more reusable by making the name easily changeable. The way we would do that is by adding a prop inside of the function declaration, like this, then changing out the hard-coded name here with our name prop with curly brackets on each side. To use this in our main file, the app.js file, we would, inside of each component declaration, we would add a value for each of our props. So here I've just used some example names like Joe, Mia, and Alex. And the screen will then show this sentence, but with the name change out for each value we provided here. I'm going to show you how we can do this with our app right here. So, as you can see, our app has four, oh, sorry, our card has four main features. We have an image, we have a city name, we have a city location, as well as a population. So let's add four props for those four features. Let's start by adding an image link here. We also have the city name. Let's just call it city, as well as location and population. Perfect. Let's start by adding an image prop here. Let's just copy our link so we don't lose our image. and switch this out to image link. Let's do the same here. Change our Los Angeles name to city, our Southern California location to this location. Oh, and finally our population. Okay. As you can see, now that I saved, all of our values disappeared since we haven't provided anything for them in our card here. We would now go back here and add them. Let's start with our image link. Image link equals, and then the link I copied, as well as city, which in this case would equal Los Angeles. We also have to add our location, which is Southern California. And finally, our population prop, which is 3.8 million. Okay, let's save and see if this works. Perfect. So now you can see that we have all our information in our card, um, all by filling in props in our card declaration here. We can do the exact same thing with San Francisco. Let's just copy its image link real quick. Now delete all of this. Save. Now that you see San Francisco is gone, let's just add a card component here and do the exact same thing for San Francisco. So image link equals, this is San Francisco image. The city value would be San Francisco, as well as our location, which is Northern California. And finally, our population, which, if I remember correctly, 800,000. And save. Perfect. You can see how this is way more scalable than hard coding in every single value. And if we wanted to add any more cities, let's say San Diego, for example, it would be very easy by just adding a new card here and typing in the values. So the final thing on our agenda today is screen changes. So as you may know, right now our buttons doesn't do anything, and that's where useState comes in. It's a feature from React that lets us re-render our components to basically show new content. So this is how it will be used. You will start by actually importing the feature, as you can see here, highlighted in purple. You will then declare a variable here on the left side of the comma, as well as a function here to change this variable using useState. In the context of a button, don't worry too much about the syntax here, but you basically use the function you declared here to change this variable when the button is pressed. And finally, to use this variable, it works similarly to the props feature, where you cover the variable with curly brackets on each side. So I'll show you how to do this right now. Let's say we want to make these voting buttons actually do something. Let's say that each time we press a button, it counts as a vote towards which city is the best. So before we do anything, we have to import the useState feature. So let's just do that. useState from React. That looks fine. We now have to declare our variables and functions. So let's do that in square brackets. Let's say our first variable should be for the amount of volts for LA. So let's just call it LA volts. And the function can be called set LA volts, for example. And then equals use state, and the starting value should be 0. Okay, let's just make one for San Francisco while we're at it. Let's just call that SF volts, set SF volts, and then equals use state 0. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so to actually make our buttons function with these variables, we have to go into each button component here. This is the one for SF, so let's start by typing in on press equals. Don't worry too much about the syntax here, but basically you use the function, um, and then set LA volts, um, LA volts plus 1, which basically just means that every time we press the button, um, the amount of volts should be increased by 1. Let's do the same here for. Oh, this one should actually be for San Francisco. Okay. On press equals the same syntax, then set LA volts, and then in parentheses, let's just say LA volts plus 1. Okay, still looks fine, but we're not showing this variable anywhere. And since we're using custom components here with props, let's add uh, some text here to show how many volts each city has. Let's just use the same style as with the other ones. Style equals styles dot city info, and let's just oh, my bad. This should be in this one, of course. And let's just type in here, for example, volts. Then we have to add a prop here. Let's just call it volts as well. And in curly brackets here, let's use this prop, volts. Okay. Let's see. Oh, styles dot city info. Okay. I think our cars might be a little small. Let's try and remove the border to see if we get some more space. That's better. Maybe make our height, maybe make them slightly taller as well. Let's say 320. So we have a little more space. That looks fine. Okay. And as with all the other props, let's just go into each of our parts here and add our variables. So for SF, volts should equal the SF volts, while for Los Angeles, it should equal LA volts. Okay, let's save. Okay, this looks fine. Let's see if it works. It does. So every time I click the SF button here, I can see that the vote changes for San Francisco in the San Francisco card. Same goes for LA here. So we now have two functioning buttons that count the amount of votes for each city. So congratulations, we have a fully functioning interactive mobile app. It's a very basic app for now, but I think it's a decent place to build from. That being said, I think there's still lots to learn. We could spend several hours on each of the topics we went through today. There's still so much to learn about React Native. Just name a few: organization, layouts, navigation, etc. You can spend hours on each topic to become fluent in React Native. So happy hacking. I hope you learned something from my workshop today. I hope you all are gonna have fun and build some cool projects. And yeah, good luck. Bye, everyone.